Hi, everyone. We're so glad you're along for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Christy Casciano, along with my line mates, Lee Elias and Mike Benelli. We think you're going to really get into this episode. So take some notes because you're going to learn a lot.
Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of your favorite show, Our Kids Play Hockey. It's Lee Elias with Mike Benelli and Christy Casciano-Burns, the full band back together for today's topic. It's going to be a good one. This one's called Notes from a Hockey Elder. Now, what do we mean by that? It starts with a story. I was at the rink yesterday watching my daughter play her second year of mites. And as I was watching her, I started realizing I was insanely calm. No anxiety, no pressure. No, oh my goodness, get the puck and score, or don't let the puck in the net. I was just there enjoying the game. Now, this is my 5th year in youth hockey with my own kids. Obviously been around youth hockey many, many years. All right. And as you all know, Mike and Christy are very experienced in the youth hockey segment. So we wanted to do a show today about maybe how to quell some of the anxiety you may be feeling, whether you're a new hockey parent or an experienced hockey parent. We all feel it from time to time. But my friends, I have been very, very calm and at peace at the rinks this year. And I thought we should share why that may be happening. Okay, so we're going to go around the horn here today. All right. My two mentors are Mike Benelli and Christy Casciano-Burns. All right. And they have probably helped me get to this state of nirvana when it comes to youth hockey. So you would behoove yourself, being a linguist today, by listening to them today. Christy, you are the elder hockey god of this group. Both of your children have gone through the entire program. They are great, amazing citizens of the world. They're also very intelligent. They're doing amazing things. Of course, it's all because of hockey and the parenting. Why don't you dive into some of your notes on
you've come a long way, baby.
I really have. From that first game my son played, where I was told that it would happen. Your heart will be in your chest, and I remember that it happened to me. To just being like, oh, this is great. Yeah, let's Sunday afternoon hockey. Well, it was weird.
Wait till the checking starts. We're going to go through this again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So I kind of liken it to when you have your first kid, your baby. You've got a newborn baby, right? And then they're into the whole pacifier, right? The pacifier falls on the floor. What do? You run, you grab it, you go over to the stove, you boil it, you make sure it's pristine. All the bottles are pristine. The floors, all the plugs are in, right? Your baby. Now the second kid comes around, the pacifier falls on the floor, you pick it up, the beach used to call it, kind of wipe it on your sleeve and you stick it in the mouth. Kind of like that. It's like you've been through it. All the pins and needles and those eggshells you were walking on have disappeared because you've got now a whole bunch of experience under your belt, and you draw from that and you realize it's not so scary. It's okay when they fall and kids topple on top of them. They run into the boards, your heart is, oh my gosh, and they get back up. So I think it just comes from having been through it. And then you realize I'm still breathing. I still have a pulse. I'm okay. My brain isn't totally scrambled. And you draw from your experiences. So the second time around, because this is your second time around, it's not so crazy, right? And you're not so crazy.
Yeah,
so I think that has a lot to do with it, having gone through it.
You're reminding me of when I picked up my son, my firstborn, the first time. I think it took me 10 minutes to pick him up the very first time. Because, we all know how babies are. Nothing moves. It's just like it's a weird. And my daughter, I scooped up in 5 seconds. Just, oh, there you are. But exactly. I think that's a really good analogy.
Right? You're terrified. Oh, my gosh, am I going to drown the kid, right? No,
and I'll tell you this too, Christy.
You go through it. And then you learn. And it's always good to draw on other parents too. That's why this show is, right. I wish this show was around when my little Joey started playing hockey. Wow, it would have really helped ease a lot of the bump. And there were a lot of bumps in that first year of being a hockey parent. It was so foreign to me because my husband didn't play hockey. I was a figure skater. I didn't know anything about this new language and culture, and I didn't know how to dress them. I didn't know anything. It was really overwhelming. That's why I'm really glad we have so many new parents aboard this show because we're going to help you get through it. And there's so much wisdom packed in each episode. You folks are so lucky to have, and not just the three of us, but the experts that we have on the show too. So, but I'd love to hear Mike chime in. What'd you say to Lee? Aren't you proud of him?
Yeah, no, listen, it's but well, it is. I think it's crazy that we talk about this. Is we do a lot, right? We talk a little bit. We talk all the time about real life. I know hockey is real life, but it's really not real life. It's like we talk about having kids. You know, when your kid gets on the school bus for the first time, your kid does something extreme or dangerous, and then you get into sports and you get wacky, like you lose your mind, like you just like it's like this, like you throw out all of the tendencies of normalcy, and so it's great that Lee can sit back and pre-reflect on what he's doing and the actions that he's gonna, the energy he's gonna put in that really doesn't result in any kind of positive end game for him. And I think, but that's because of reflection. That's because that's why, Christy, you can talk to your when your kids have kids, you could sit back and say and watch the craziness, right? And like Lee's dad and my parents would always say, like my parents watch me trying to do things as a father, and it's just very amusing to them. It's and I look at that way. I look at it as a hockey parent in rinks. Listen, I was at a rink yesterday where two grown adults took their shirts off and wanted to fight in the parking lot. So,
oh no,
so
they were grown
still
adults?
going on.
They were adults?
So to me, to me, like that is amusing to me. It's sad,
Right,
and amusing.
Yeah,
and I just because there's no reflection point there.
Yeah,
For,
it's all
for
ego.
anybody.
That's all.
It's all insanity, and that, so it didn't result in anything. So Lee being able to sit back and saying, okay, my first kid went through this, and I had the nerves, and I was in a lot of ways repressed what I really wanted to do,
right.
because I was like, well, if I do that, then what's the point? Like, what do I get? What's the end game for me? And I think that's what, but I think that's where the frustration piece is for somebody like me, who gets asked a lot on what my opinion is, and then it just doesn't get followed anyway. So it just so I appreciate that Lee. I appreciate that Lee is listening to the podcast and taking it in, and using it, because I wish more people would understand that this is not just us speaking and just going and saying what our philosophy is.
Right.
It's just seeing thousands and thousands and thousands. My case has literally thousands of parents in the exact same situation, by the glass, watching their kid trip over the blue line, embarrassing their family name, and not reacting, or climbing the glass and scolding their kid and giving them hand signals. So I can appreciate where Lee has evolved to, but we got a lot of work to do.
Well, I gotta say this. I gotta say this about you. Yeah, no, I've got many years of this to come. Look, just to echo what you're saying. When we went into pre-production to create this show, which is almost 5 years ago, if you can believe it.
How is that possible?
Yeah, I know, right? The thought was a few things. One is that, Christy, what you said, there's really nothing out there sharing this kind of information. That was one thing. The other thought was that there has to be an audience of people that want to do this the way that we're talking about it, because at that time, everybody was crazy, a crazy hockey parent. And we just had the belief that, okay, there's got to be people out there that don't want to subscribe to that. And I said, we'll be dead in the water pretty quick if we're wrong. And luckily we were right. Thank you, all of you that listen. But we also talked about how I would be the guinea pig for this, right? Because when we created the show, it was really my first year of being a parent, right? Again, having been involved in hockey. And to both of your points, I do listen to the stuff that we talk about, and the ability that I had to apply a lot of the things that we talk about, from both of you, who I say are mentors all the time, but also all the guests that we have. But also, I think the other key, and this is for the audience listening, was to recognize certain things. I recognize that, oh, wow, I'm feeling this thing that Christy and Mike said I would feel, even though I told myself I'll be fine.
Mhm.
it still
Yeah.
it still hits you. Now, I do
Oh,
want to say
yeah.
this too. While I'm at ease with my daughter, I'm also at ease with my son, who's a goalie, which that doesn't make any sense to a lot of people. Now, he's playing at the highest level he's ever played at. He is the full-time goalie for the team. He's the starter for the team. That's just how it worked out this year in terms of there's only one goalie on this team, which I'm not ecstatic about, but it is what it is. And
Mm.
I feel nothing but pride in him. I'm just very proud of him. And it has nothing to do with the results of the game. It's just the way he has developed. And again, I attribute a lot of this to you two as well. Is he came up to me the other day, and hockey parents, listen, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard from him involving the game. And he just, without any prompting, just goes, man, I just love playing goalie. I just love playing hockey. I love it. And here's the thing, going back to one of our episodes, what do I tell him before every single ice session? I love you no matter what happens out there, and I love to watch you play. So the result of that, my daughter says this too. I mean, again, she's younger, but when we said we're going to skate, that's more comforting to me than any win or championship or great save or great goal that they get. Those are all fun things outside the losses. They're all fun. Like losing still sucks, don't get me wrong, but it's
Yeah.
never the definition. And again, I think I've said this before on the show, but again, my son's playing really well, and so is my daughter, by my estimation. But they said, well, how are you so calm when he gets scored on? I said, because pucks are going to go in the net because we're playing hockey. Right. And it's like, he'll learn or he won't, and we'll move on
Right.
with our lives. And just from listening to you two, this is the notes I have here. I think one thing that this show has taught me, and again, we're talking about notes from a hockey elder here, right? Is the acceptance, and this is hard, friends, the acceptance you just have very little control over what's going to happen out there.
Right.
Right. I think that we'll just say the crazy hockey parent
Mhm.
have a really mutated belief that they have some control over the game. The parent doing the hand signals, what you're doing is controlling hurt in the game. But my point is, like, you don't have any control, and you got to let these kids live their lives. One of the best pieces of advice, excuse me, I got really before they were playing hockey is to remember they're not you. We always talk about, oh, that my son's like me, my daughter's like they're not me. They're not my wife, right? They're separate whole human beings. And when you focus on developing that, even though they probably have attributes that you have, it changes the game. Right. The other thing too is that I think something that this show taught me that made me very calm, or I should say more calm than normal. Like there's tense moments, right? But the difference between competition and being competitive, right? And I don't think we do a good job in youth hockey of separating those two things. I want my athletes, all the kids I coach, my own kids, to be very, very competitive. I want that. It's not really something you can teach. It's something that goes, but I don't merge that with the competition. So I don't equate that to the win and loss. If my team loses and I know they did everything they could, I'm proud. I really am. And here's the thing: if they didn't do everything they could, it's a learning opportunity. And if they didn't do everything they could 10 games in a row, it's a conversation. Like, do you want to be doing this? Right. So those are some of the things I keep in my mind. Is that I really listen to everything that's said from the people that are ahead of me. Two is I really focus on what I control. And I have more control than most in this situation, being the coach. Parents, I'm sometimes envious of those of you that can just go there and watch. Right? Because I got to watch a game and really think about how am I going to activate some of these things at practice, which I enjoy doing. But like I want to be the soccer parent just with the easy chair and the cool drink that's not actually, non-alcoholic, and just enjoying the game. But I want to throw that in, guys, because I've learned from both of you. And I do believe when checking comes in, yes, that's another hurdle, but I'm well prepared.
We'll check back in. But
No
hey,
pun
listen,
intended there.
what you said about what you say to your kids, and all the research points to that being so valid, that what kids really want to hear from their parents, they don't want to come off the ice and you being right in the ear telling them what they did wrong and how they could have played better. That's the last thing the parents should be doing as soon as your kid steps off the ice. All the research has shown what kids want to hear from parents most. I love to watch you play. Win, lose, tie, it doesn't matter. I'm here to support you, and I love to watch you play.
Yeah.
That's the most significant piece of advice that all three of us can give to you, because it's proven, it works, it's important. Stay away from being the coach in the stands, especially, as Lee said, giving your kid hand signals while on the ice. You are going to cause so much confusion with your kid. You're going to cause them to be so conflicted because, I mean, think about it. So you're in the stands telling them what you think they should be doing. The coach is telling them something totally different. How do you think your kid feels? Your kid's coming off the ice thinking, okay, I'm supposed to be listening to my coach, but I don't want to disappoint mom and dad. What do you think that does to their brains, to their hearts? You know, that's just the worst thing that you could be doing. It needs to be, and we talked about this before, like a triangle. You have the communication, coach, kid, parent. All three of you need to be on the same page. And that needs to start at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, you know, Christy, very famous coach. Many of you may know Dawn Staley, who's a Hall of Fame NCAA coach. I was at a conference with her once, and they had asked her about how do you deal with parents. And again, this is a top Division I coach. She has won, I think, more national championships than anyone. And she said, we have Zoom meetings with the parents. And there was almost a gasp from the crowd. Like, you involve the parents? And she said, it's real simple. They're the most influential person in these kids' lives. If we don't involve them, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
And she goes, 20 years ago, we didn't do that. But the world's changed. You know, we have to have them involved.
Right.
So I love that triangle methodology that you're talking about, because it really, look, it takes a village.
Yeah.
Right. It takes a village, especially when you're dealing with younger kids.
Right.
But to your point, don't interfere. You know, here's two things I want to mention about what you just said. Number one, when you tell your kid that you love them no matter what happens, you love watching them play, parents, I know they may be looking out the window and acting like they don't hear you. They hear you. All right. Especially when you say it every time. All right. You got to think about when you were a kid. Like, you heard your parents when they repeated stuff over and over again. You might not have activated it right away, but you heard it. So believe that they hear it. Number two is that the hand signals, the communication piece, like you're talking about, the kids notice that on the bench too. And this is, I think, a big mistake that I think people don't. Oh no, people don't notice that we're doing. Everyone knows that you're doing.
Yes.
Okay? Everyone knows that you're doing it. The coach knows, the teammates know, the kid know, and you know, and the other parents all know that you're doing it. No one's that crafty. You could hide a bug in the helmet with a walkie-talkie. Hey, I need you to go left on the next space. Everyone knows you're doing it. And when you teach a kid to not listen to the coach, even if you think that coach is a maniac and doesn't know what they're doing, you're still hurting the kid.
You are.
All right?
Yeah.
Because they need to learn how to deal with that. They need to learn how to deal with the coach they don't like.
Right.
Right. And Christy, like we said, Mike too, we've had a lot of NHL parents on this show, a lot of NHL athletes. We have not had one parent that has said to us, yeah, no, we used to do hand signals during the game. And that's why this kid made the NHL, because we did the hand signals. Now, there was one story about somebody doing that, but it doesn't work that way.
No. Yeah. What do you think, Mike? Let's hear from you. I know you're chomping at the bit here. He's got a lot to say.
I'm just listening, because I mean, it all seems so much. It all seems so common sense, right? That you know what we should be doing and how we should be working with our kids, and it just, you get I don't know, you get emotional, and I think I don't know. Sometimes I get that way if I'm watching my kids, like at like a band recital. I mean, like, I'm like, oh, like, geez, he should have practiced more, man. That kid. Like, what's that kid even doing in this band? Like that kid shouldn't be in this band. Like, it's just terrible. It's ruining the whole experience for everyone. But it's just, so but then I think it's in sports, it's hyper, I don't know if it's hyper noticed, or we just react because it's
because
sport.
there's a win and loss scenario. That's why.
True.
Like there's no win and loss in band. It's just, you should have practiced more.
Well, we're all losing then, you know, listening when you're sitting in the auditorium. But I think it's just like, I just think it's but why isn't, I just, again, I think the emotion comes too out of the fact that you have the same type of people all surrounded in the same area. Like when you talk to normal people, they think you're insane. Like when you
Yeah.
talk to a person, it's like, what happens at these games? Like, what do
Yeah.
you do every weekend? Or what did you sacrifice? Like another part of society, which probably doesn't listen to this show, says you're, well, to Lee's tagline, right? You're the hockey world, you're not crazy. The hockey's crazy.
Right.
And but people outside of us and sport, lacrosse, baseball, soccer, football, outside of that world, which again, I'm not really a part of because I don't, that's like who has time to interact with normal people.
Yeah, we're hockey parents.
That
That's time for that.
who has time for that. But it, but I think when you go, like when you go to a family event with family members have kids that don't play any sport,
Right.
it's such a different conversation. Like they look at you like something like you're hanging everything on this 11-year-old
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
whole life's revolving around this 11-year-old. Like, I was talking to my wife, we were laughing, like she goes, I don't think my father, and she was an all-state, all-star captain of field hockey and soccer, the whole thing. Her father never saw her play in high school. Ever,
Right.
not once. Because he was working.
Yeah.
And games are at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. So like we've just changed. The whole society has changed where
Oh, it has.
parents
Yeah.
are changing their whole lives around youth sports,
Right.
which has caused this whole other explosion of craziness because we can't not care because now we're all invested together
Right.
as opposed to like, hey, how'd the game go yesterday? Oh, I scored 5 goals and I was the best player on the field. Or
Exactly.
and like, that's great for you. That's great for you. Eat your
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah.
And
No, our parents used to just drop us off at practices and they never went to the games. They're too busy
because
working.
there was no investment. There was
Right.
no like I'm getting this out of this.
Yeah.
But now it's become I'm putting you in this because I want to get this out of this.
I got to tell you guys, this last season, this is a kind of a sobering moment for me. And again, for all the parents listening, I should have prefaced this in the beginning. I'm not bragging about what I'm talking about. I want to share this because I think a lot of you can get to this place too. And I'm not saying I don't have stressful moments.
Mhm.
I'm just saying I'm pretty calm most of the time. All right. But one of the things you just said last season, I remember dropping my son off for practice and there were no parents there, Mike. There were very few. And I was like, where is everybody? And somebody reminded me, like, well, like we don't have to be here. Right.
Love
And it was like the
Yes.
first time it clicked. It's like, I don't need to be here. What am I
Right.
doing? Why am I here? Why am I at the rink
Exactly.
right now? I'm not on the ice. It's like, I've got work to do. So,
Right.
I obviously told my kid, because I had never done that before, but it's like, hey, you know what, man, I'm just going to go to the Starbucks and work for a little bit. And to my surprise, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. It's just like, we're back on the ice. I was like, I don't need to be here Hawkeyeing him all the time. But that was a
Right.
realization I had to come to. Right. Like, so that's what I'm saying. It's like,
Yeah.
there was this crazy thought of like, I have to be here.
Yeah.
And I don't. Right.
Well, and I've been on the other side. I've been on the other side of that where I've been like, listen, if you're gonna be here, Lee, I'm on the ice. I'm assigning you something to do.
Sure,
You're gonna
sure.
sit here by the glass and watch me. I'm assigning you. And then so what parents do, they'd go out for a run or they'd go do some errands.
Yeah,
or
I
they'd
don't want
go,
any
That was me.
responsibility.
Yeah,
they go,
especially during the
whoa.
holiday
Wait a minute. You can't. I'm just sitting here watching.
Yeah, tell them to run the clock at practice. No, I need 20 minutes on the thing for practice.
Yeah. But that was me. I got a lot of errands done when the kids were at the hockey practice.
yeah.
All my Christmas shopping done. It was fantastic.
There wasn't an investment in your brain.
No.
Like you weren't saying like I've invested in this. So let me see where my investment is maturing.
The investments in the coaching staff to do their job at the practice. And that's kind of, I was like, I got to trust these people to do their job, whether they do it well or not. And
Yeah.
Christy, you just made a good point. Go get some stuff done. You know what's a great stress reliever? Go to the store and buy groceries. Get it out of the way. Do the work you had to do. Now, again, there were way more parents, way more advanced in that than I was at the time I figured this out. Keeping in mind, like, they're not all on the ice all the time. But that was one. The other thing I wanted to say, too, and I think this is a theme, too, and I got to say this kind of broadly. You got to understand what ego is. You got to understand how ego plays into it. Your kid is not the reflection of your family or you that you probably think. And if you think that way, believe me, every other parent is probably thinking that way. And the truth is this, I heard this great saying, you guys are both going to laugh at this, that I found to be true. The first third of your life, you worry about what everybody else thinks.
Yes.
The second third of your life, you don't really worry about too much what other people think. And then the third third of your life, you realize nobody really cared to begin with. Nobody was paying attention to you. Nobody cared, right? And I think it's just the decision of knowing that quote and applying it a little bit earlier, right? And when I say I don't care, it's not that I don't care about you as a person and I don't care about your kid or anything like that. I'm saying that I feel like I got a grip because of you two where all this really ranks in the ethos of life. And the truth is this, my friend, it is not that, it's just not that big of a deal, right? As much as we make it. And when your kid turns around, gives up the puck, and it's the game-winning goal, no one's leaving that rink and thinking for the next 5 years, well, that kid screwed us all. All of us are screwed now because no, actually what they're usually thinking is, that's a tough play. I hope they're all right. I hope the family's okay. That's a tough one.
Yeah, but you know what? It is a big deal. It is a big deal when you're doing all this that you think is the right thing to do, and it's not. The hand signals, the questioning.
Good point.
And then it's a big deal because then when your kid quits and make a bad experience for them, you're actually doing what you didn't want to do in the first place. Like the whole idea, like then now they're doing nothing.
Right.
And now we're in a situation where, like, my God, I can't have my son, daughter just sitting around the house doing nothing.
Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, Mike, because you've never taught them to be independent.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like, if you really enjoy, like me, I love going to the rink and watching hockey, even bad hockey. I just like watching. I like my kids playing. I like watching other kids get better. I just like it. I do like the drama. I'm like, oh my God, that is unbelievable. Like what that guy's saying right now, or oh, and then my favorite now is sitting back and hearing other parents like, well, you know what the USA hockey rule is on that, and this. I'm like, that's not accurate at all.
The rule
actually.
at all.
And I don't chime in. I don't, like, sometimes somebody's like, oh, are you Mike Benelli? I'm like, it all really depends on.
Depends who's asking.
I know if you're asking, oh, you did a clinic with me back in whatever. So I'm like
1900s.
Yeah. So I love that kind of stuff. So I like being around the rink, and I like being in an area where I feel comfortable and like. But what I don't, but I think what happens is I don't want my kids quitting and playing basketball because I hate basketball. Like I can't even watch it. So like to me, it's like, oh. Like, okay, do something that I like you doing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like
doing.
Well,
Mike, listen, you're bringing up a great point. I think that it's perfect for this episode, Notes from a Hockey Elder, right? When your kid is playing the sport you played, it totally changes how you approach this as a parent, right? Because I remember when my kids play baseball, softball, soccer, it was always easier for me to be more calm at those events because I just didn't play those games. And I don't know, I don't know those sports like I know hockey. And I think in hockey, it's not everybody, but a lot of people in hockey have someone who played and probably played a long time. So it creates this aura of like, no, I know what I'm talking about because I played. And I say this quote all the time about coaches, but this is true for parents too. Good coaches know everything. Great coaches know they know nothing. Because the game is evolving all the time. Obviously, it's a metaphor, right? Or it's a saying. But I wrote that as a note. You got to remember, you might have played, and you might have been great. I'm not even. It's nothing to do with the skill level, but you're bringing that, and you might put that out on your kid. Of like, no, but I could do this at that age. As I said earlier, that kid's not you. They might not have your athletic ability. They might have more athletic ability. They might not have the cognitive stuff yet. I also wrote here, I'm writing a lot of notes while you guys are talking because I'm realizing these things while we're talking. You got to know the long game of this sport.
Yeah.
It might take your kid 4 or 5 years to develop a skill, and it might click, and another kid might have it on day one. There are mites. I remember this when my son started playing, that incredible shots right away. And it took my son, keep in mind he's a goalie now, but took him longer for that to click. Granted, his skills in other parts of the game advanced quicker. It's Christy, going back to the baby analogy. Some kids talk early, some kids talk late. Some kids walk early, some kids walk late. You have got to play the long game. There is no skill. And Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. There's no skill in hockey that I can think of that any youth athlete will perfect youth athlete on day one. Even if you're great at it, you got to take the time to build up the muscle memory. So you got to play the long game. And a lot of times I see coaches wrote like well, we worked on that 3 weeks ago. Well, you got to work on it 16 weeks in a row, man. You can't just work on it 1 week. Now, as they get older, that time does shorten, right? When I work with pro athletes, they can typically get a skill pretty quick, but they still got to build the muscle memory. But that might take 3 days instead of 3 months. But when you're a youth hockey parent and you're saying, I just don't understand why they don't do this.
Yeah.
You got to pump it might take some time.
Right.
Or maybe it's not being communicated. I'll give a great example and then I'll throw it back to you both.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking the younger kids here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In hockey, I've been saying this to my team a lot. You're always in motion. When you're on the ice, you're most likely in motion, but you might not be moving. And so you hear parents say, don't glide, skate. You got to skate. The kid might not realize they're not skating because they're in motion. It sounds obvious, but this is a common thing I see. No, I am moving. Yes, you're in motion. So I had a player that I sat down recently. I showed a video of one of their shifts. I was very complimentary of this player. I said, hey, look, I like the way you play hockey. I think you got a lot of potential, but I want to show you this shift. And then what I didn't do is say, look at this, look at that, look at this. I said, right, this is all I said. What do you see? And he looked me right in the eye. He goes, I'm not skating. I go, go get on the ice. And you could see immediately the change. It clicked. And the feet were moving and he was going. But weeks and weeks, we were trying to figure this out. And we just had to find the right way. And navigating that aspect of it as a parent, as a coach, can be fun if you don't stress out about it too much. But you got to play the long game.
This is really hard for parents. So kids learn by doing. Kids learn by practicing. Kids also learn, and I know it's hard to watch, it's hard to swallow this one, but kids learn from failure. Yes. Okay?
Yes.
Parents don't like to see their kids fail. They can't stand it. But here's the thing. Sometimes there are a lot of failures before you see success. That's a tough pill for parents to swallow, but it is the truth. And I can tell you that from experience. And I can think of both of my kids who, it took them a while to get the skills for it to click. And there was a lot of failure along the way. But eventually they overcame that on their own without me giving hand signals in the stands to their success. And both of them had really successful hockey careers. But you got to sit through the pain and you got to bear it. Okay, parents? You can't get in there and try to fix everything for them. That's not the way to do it.
The greatest gift you can give them is being there for them in those moments and not overbearing them.
Unconditional love. That's it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Right, but isn't a failure, watching them fail, is just inconvenient for you as a parent? It's just much, so that's hard. It is a gift to do it because you're like, oh my God, let me just do this because this is too long. This is taking me too long. And I think we've had an episode on this a long time ago.
We did.
When we talked about, if you want your son and daughter to learn how to get themselves dressed and do their own skates, then you, instead of blowing up like I would, you need to put the time in and say, we've got to create a 20-minute buffer to get to the rink to allow the breathing exercises to come in play and allow the failure of watching your son or daughter tie their skates incorrectly for 20 minutes. Or else it's going to be like, forget it. You don't know how to do it. We'll do it another time. I'll do it. I'll do it. So yes, is that really a risky thing? No, that's not failure. It's like failure is, if you're going to be able to do it, no, I got my skates, Dad. I can tie them myself. And you clearly can't, right? You clearly can't do it. And they go on the ice and they go on a very expensive sheet of ice with a coach that doesn't have the same patience, watching them with their ankles bent in and their skates falling off. So to me, that's where I think I can speak to a lot of people in the audience where I'm like that's their problem, right? That's their failure, but it's inconveniencing me. Because I've got to watch this knucklehead try to tell me that his skates are, and then depending on your kid, he could be like, nope, it's tight enough. It's fine. I go, it's not, this is not good. Right. So it's just, and I've, gone through that whole thing and I've watched other parents go through that. Now, not in my defense, but in other parents' defense, there are plenty of people that go, screw it. I don't care. I don't even know the skates are supposed to be tied. They just go off and do their own thing. Yeah. And me, I'm like,
the kids figure it out though. They figure it out. Yes, whether they ask you or not, they figure it out.
No doubt. Or they don't. I guess that's my point is to most people, when I talk to them, they go, oh, Mike, what about my slap shot? What about my kids? I go, they will figure it out or they won't. or they
Right.
won't. And guess what? They're not, like you said, some kids just mature early, get a shot and get a great have a great stride. They could jump on the
Mhm.
ice. Like, has that kid ever skated before?
Yeah.
I've seen kids at my kids' birthday parties, like on ice birthday parties,
Mhm.
that are better skaters than any kid I've seen, and the kid doesn't play hockey. I'm like, why
Right.
isn't the kid playing hockey? He just skates. He just loves skating. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's not even acceptable. That's weird.
Right.
Like,
That's
Get them
you should
off
weird.
be
the ice. You make the kids look bad.
you should be playing hockey. Yeah, get off the ice. My kid
My
just did,
ego can't take it.
17 weeks of private lessons, and your kid's better than my kid. I don't like that. So I think it's a matter of saying it, but it is. It's a hard. It's really building in your ability to withstand the pain
Yeah.
of the kid not getting it right away,
Right.
and be able to breathe and let it go. And it's
Mhm.
so hard. It's really, really hard.
Well,
It
this is where
is
the triangle
hard.
comes in, right? This is where the triangle comes in
Yeah.
too, because
Mhm.
like I'll give you an example. Coaching squirt, right? This is where the kids can't really tie their skates yet, but they kind of want to, but they can't. So we've instituted in our locker room of, look, here's the deal. We'll help you tie your skates, but there have better been an attempt made, right? When
Good.
we come over, the laces better have been tightened,
Mhm.
right? Like it just can't be completely loose like you didn't care, right? And we have a rule, you got to be dressed 15 minutes before the game. We'll always help the kids, but we say you have to make an attempt, right? And what's happening is they're making the attempt and they might not tie them because they're waiting for us, but eventually a couple of them started saying, yeah, it's good. I got it. Right.
Yeah.
But you got to let them go through that. And obviously we don't let
Mhm.
parents in the locker room to help at that point. And we also firmly say, when you get to 12, you guys are going to want to know how to do this because it's going to be
Exactly.
embarrassing if you can't tie your
Right.
skates.
Yeah.
That actually probably
And they
does
get
more
it.
good than anything of like, you don't want the other kids to make fun of you.
Right.
Well, tyou don't want, if you don't want mom and dad in the locker room, then help us out here. Like learn how to get yourself dressed
Yeah.
properly and
Right.
safely. Like my issue is always like, you can't wear your shin guards like that, bud. You got to do something about this because you're gonna
Right.
get hurt. You're gonna get cut. You're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And then or whatever. Or another kid, I see a kid like walk. I'm like, Jesus, like, can we help the kid? Buckle his helmet. So,
Yeah.
but it's always. But again, so there are levels of letting the risk happen
Yeah.
before somebody gets hurt, right?
Well, you're
And
making me think of a funny thing here too, Mike. So my daughter, who's a second year mite, has been really getting herself dressed kind of since she started. And I felt good and bad about this. I realized the reason that she knows how to get dressed is she's watched me struggle with my son for years, right? In
Yes.
not a great way. I would get very frustrated, parents listening.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm saying. So this is the benefit of being the second child. She saw that, probably went, well, like, I don't want to fight with dad or disappoint dad.
Right.
That's just how the mind works. And so she gets herself dressed. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's weird because that situation with him taught her that. But this is another thing. I also told my son, hey, you're the big brother, you're the firstborn, you kind of lead the way, but that you taught her that. I give him credit. Like maybe I was a little bit too much on you, but you taught her that because of the way you
Right.
did it. I make sure he knows that. I think that
Yeah.
well, at least I can say this for myself. I can't say this for all parents. I learned younger, I don't praise enough, right?
Mhm.
I wouldn't call myself a fault finder, but I do nitpick things, and I've realized I got to praise just as much as I say things that are right or wrong. And that's part of my evolution as a hockey parent too. Again, things I've learned from listening to this show, right?
Right.
Go ahead,
That's good
Christy.
that you recognize that because I think you can get really caught up in the whole critiquing and picking things apart and, digesting things too much. Well, just kind of stepping back and say, hey, that was a great shift you had, or
Yeah.
hey, great job tying your skates. That's fantastic. That constant reinforcement and
I do it a
praise
lot
is
now.
important too.
I do
Yeah.
it a lot now. I'll also say to you just stories from the grind here, Mike. When my son was starting to play goalie, a lot of new gear. At first you need a lot of help, and it's like I kind of made the decision one day just to not go in the locker room. And guess what? He figured it out. He got dressed. It's the diaper analogy. You get him out of diapers 1 week, they're out of diapers, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
he figured it out, and it's actually kind of fun to watch him get dressed. He knows what he's doing, right? But you got to have that hands off. But it reduces my stress. And just kind of going back to the
There you
thought of the
go.
episode here is like a lot of the stress is self-inflicted,
Yes.
right?
Very
I'd say
much so.
most of it,
Mhm.
right? And I think again, rounding this out, we have a few minutes here. The key points from this, right, is recognizing that you're feeling it and that it's completely normal and that other people have
Mhm.
felt it. And again,
Mhm.
the stress I feel, I can tell all of you listening, a lot of times I go, hey, they warned me about this. Christy told me this would happen. You know, that's very, very comforting. Seeing the long game has really helped, right? I'm going to say this too. I'm not saying I don't get stressed. All right. When a game's really close, of course I want my kids' teams to win, but I really don't base the value of anything on the win or the loss, especially at the ages they're at. Right. And again, quick story. I remember we were in an elementary school championship last year. I had a lot going on in my life at that time outside of hockey. So I was just beyond exhausted, just generally. And I remember in the final minutes of that game, it was in overtime. I really wanted to win because my son and daughter are on the team together. It's the only time they're going to be on the team. I've told this story once or twice, but I remember having this thought that no matter what happens here, we really did win the season, right? Like this was a great season. That doesn't mean I'm equating like if we lose, it's okay. I wanted to win the game. We did win the game, but I remember having that kind of calm feeling of, hey, we did a great job this year. This was a great year no matter what happens. And if they lose, it's going to sting really bad. And if we win, it's going to be awesome.
Right.
But we can't, and this is another tip, we cannot justify or summate the season on one moment. You just can't do that. The championship moment is a moment. A win is a win, but it's a moment. It's the 74 months you spend with each other in 1 year that makes it fun. Like I say, I was joking, 12 more months to go. Only 12 more months to go. We got a couple of minutes left. But again, I think this too, my friends, and this is true. I have, this was hard, but I've really got it down now. We don't talk about hockey in the car after the game unless they want to talk about it. And I've gotten really comfortable with that. All right. If my son or daughter want to talk, we'll talk. I don't bring it up. Parents, I know you have 15 things you want to say. Don't do it. I think that the pregame notes, I love you, I love watching you play. The postgame notes, not coaching in the car. Those two things alone, I think, have reduced my stress dramatically because you start to realize they're kids. I think we forget they're just kids playing a dumb game that happens to be the best game in the world. Right? You got to remember that. And that you're not being judged, not that it matters. You're not being judged by the other parents. And if you are, you don't need those people in your life anyway. Right? You don't need to worry about it.
I try to normalize my craziness in the car because I'll say the same thing. Like Arthur will come home from cooking class. I'll be like, well, what the hell did you do today? Like, what is this anyway? I mean, did you make this meal appropriately for other people to actually eat? And what was your ingredients? Tell me exactly what happened. So wherever you come from chess class, I want to know, did you win? Did you lose? Who won? Did you get beat by a second grader again? This is unacceptable. Like, how could you allow this to happen? So if you normalize the car ride home in critiquing, then maybe the ride home from the rink is not so bad, right? You just make it a normal part of your day. But if you're not doing those things, why do it for hockey? Like if you're not critiquing, like, what do you mean in gym class that you did not score 6 goals in floor hockey? You're a hockey player. Those other kids don't play hockey.
Yeah,
like,
how
so
could you?
How could you? You've and I hope you didn't wear your Benelli jersey to school because you're embarrassing me. So I think it's like this is the kind of stuff. If you can normalize it, that's great. But if you're not using the car ride for coaching hockey, then or other things, then don't do it for hockey. It does make it makes it like when you say it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. There are a lot of times we'd be in the car after a game and we talk about the game, not to critique, but there'd be funny things that would always happen.
General
like
conversation.
Wild parents, oh, did you see what Mike's dad did the other? Oh my God.
Right.
You got to
see that Benelli guy?
Right. Now we just pull up. Now we just pull up like me. Like now we just pull up Live Barn on the way home.
Yeah, right. Let's watch it again. Let's watch it again.
Yeah. I mean, or you talk about just that fantastic goal, or something that was really incredible. That's fun. That's not coaching. That's kind of reliving those great moments.
Right. So maybe you have to know your audience.
Right. Exactly.
Let the kid come to you. Like that's the point I think I'm trying to make. I would love to talk about the game after the game, but if my kid doesn't want to talk, look, my mother said to me, I'll never forget this. My mother said to me one time, never underestimate a kid's ability to ignore you. Like you can be looking right at them, and we've all experienced this, and they're just looking, they're not listening to you at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, but you come to realize, that's part of being a kid. All right. They learn how to tune adults out. Okay. But they're tuning you out because they're not interested. All right. And again, don't get me wrong, parents. There are times it's like, no, you need to look at me and listen. There are definitely times that happens.
Sure.
But if that's happening consistently in the
Yeah.
car, they're telling you, I don't want to talk about this with you. Right? My kid, and I got a great laugh at this. He called me cringy the other day with a smile on his face because I did one of the Gen Alpha things that, you know, they don't want their parents to do. And I kind of laughed. I was like, wow, we're really there. Like he's becoming an independent person that
Yeah.
he doesn't need me there every day. And while that's, I'll say this to parents, devastating from a parental standpoint, and it hurts
Sure.
because you want to hold your son. At the same time, I'm also kind of proud. It's a weird mix of like, yeah, well, he's becoming his own person.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
I can
Right.
totally see how you could, no, stay with me. Like how that could happen in a relationship there. But yeah, no, there's so much to digest here. But again, parents, listen, we got a few minutes left. These tips, the car ride home, the ride to the rink, all right, which is another great podcast you should all listen to. All right. The way you critique the games, the way you feel that stress, recognize you're stressed out and ask the question, why am I stressed? Ask that question. Why am I so stressed? Well, it's a 2-1 game. Your kid's 7. Why are you so stressed? Right? Don't worry about what anyone else is going to think of you and your kid. Make sure they know the love is there. Don't worry about being judged. Like I said, when you get older, you realize nobody cared to begin with. You're all feeling the same thing. All right. And then please make fun of the crazy hockey parent banging on the glass. Just recognize that's not you. That's an important part of this. And go stand in the corner of the ring. Last point here I had here. I wrote this down. This is an important one that kind of talks about what I just talked about. We always talk about, and we're going to have some good guests coming up about this too. Social media, how kids are growing up with social media, and that it's a human highlight reel, and that it affects the way they think. It kills me because parents, adults, we are experiencing the same thing. We're acting like we're not, but we're watching, we're scrolling, we're looking as well. Right? It plays into how you think too. Right? The human highlight reel. I mean, Mike used to say all the time, every Monday I get a recap from 55 parents of how the weekend went. Right? But it's only the wins. I don't see the losses. Don't fall into that trap because you're telling yourself that that's the worth of the season is the wins only.
Yeah.
The development is the most important thing. If your kid goes from A to Z this season on one skill, that's fantastic. That is so fantastic. You should definitely want to win. I'm not telling you shouldn't want to win. I'm not telling you that losing's okay. Okay. I'm telling you that not learning is not okay.
Right.
All right. So
I guess I was a little kind of guilty of that. Like I would, when I used to post for the team, I would try to couch the loss. Oh, we got beat again this weekend, but
yeah,
here's some highlights of our loss. You know, try to put a little positive spin on it. So
it's like when you go on it's like when you go on a fishing trip and you post like somebody had a horrible fishing trip, right? When they post the sunset. Like what a beautiful sunset. What a beautiful sunset.
Beautiful,
beautiful
sunset.
Where are the fish?
Catch one fish.
Bob Ross could have painted this sunset, but he couldn't paint me a fish because I couldn't catch anything this weekend in the lake.
I did. I was a little bit of a spin doctor there for the team, but you know, it was just to keep everyone motivated. I mean, we kept getting beat and getting beat and getting beat. So.
Right. No, and there's other, listen, and that's a whole, but that's a whole nother like avenue, right? So if you're a parent, if you're posting, if you're a, you know, if you want to pump the tires of your team and your kid and the whole thing, I have no problem with that. But just, and if you want to spin a loss into, you know, it was a great weekend and what a beautiful rink we were in and the hot chocolate was good, that's all good. I mean, I think that's
was great.
That's all part of your weekend story, and that's fine. I think it's what the social media part that gets me is the comparison of the kid, of the look what this kid did. Yeah, but that's not real. Like that's
don't do that.
Like we just never like I said earlier in a show. Like when I was 12, I thought I was the best player in the whole state. Yeah. I never saw another player. Like like I was like, I don't even know anybody else. I just think I'm good. Like so now the kids don't even get that experience. They don't get to think they're good in their own place because they see everyone else.
Hey, Wayne Gretzky just talked about this, that the loss of the pond and just going out to the pond and playing and being creative has really affected how kids are now more formulaic.
So true. So
listen,
true.
We're running out of time. I'll say this, Mike, you just said about your story, right? 2 final tips. You can't get lost in your little story. We all have a little story. There's 8 billion stories on the planet. We're all lost within our own story. And you got to realize you're part of a collective story of mankind. Not to go too gigantic here, but like we're all just living. We have our time on this planet, and that's all we have. My final tip is to get yourself an eternal optimist news lady to be on your show and a good friend that knows hockey better than anybody else. Start your own podcast or just listen to this one. That's my other tip. A little self-preservation there, but
don't
this
start your
show,
own. Don't start your own.
You don't need to start a competing podcast. Yeah, that's fine. But I would say that.
But join us on Facebook and write some notes about how we're all wrong. I like that.
I want to say sincerely.
We get that too.
That
well,
while
we'll put a positive spin on it. Don't worry about it.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
That never happened. No, look. While I am a host on this show, I learn from this show. This show has been such a gift to me as a youth hockey parent, as we know it has been to all of you, because you email us, you message us, you tell us about how impactful it is. And that just inspires us every week to keep coming back and doing it over and over again. So above all, we'll end this episode with a big thank you to all of you listening. Make sure to share this show. Help another parent in need, right? Share this show with your friends, with your teams. Continue to grow this audience in this community. As Mike said, Our Kids Play Hockey on Facebook. You can text us. If you look at the bottom of this episode, wherever you're listening, there's a little link. You can go there and actually text us a message, or you can email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. But that's going to do it. This has been Notes from a Hockey Elder. We hope it brought you some value today. We wish you the best on your ongoing 12-month hockey journey. We'll see you next time on Our Kids Play Hockey. Skate on, everybody.